when you are solving two-step equations, there's a couple of things I want you to remember. First of all, you need to simplify, and what I mean by that is if you have a couple of variables going on, like if you have 3x plus 2x, you need to simplify that as being 5x. Okay, so the first thing you want to do is simplify as much as you can. And then the second thing I want you to remember with two-step equations is that you're going to do reverse order of operations. So you're going to do any adding or subtracting first, then you're going to do any multiplying or dividing, then you're going to deal with exponents and grouping. So let's do a couple of examples. So if I gave you 3x minus 7 is equal to 5, again, we're going to do reverse order of operations, and there's nothing else we can simplify here, so we're just going to start with reverse order of operations. So I'm going to add 7 to both sides, and I end up with this negative 7 plus 7 cancels out, so I'm left with 3x, and then 5 plus 7 equals 12. Next, I'm going to solve for x by dividing both sides by 3. Since x is being multiplied by 3, I'm going to divide by 3 so that they cancel out. And that leaves me with x is equal to 4. And I know I'm right because when I substitute it back in, 3 times 4 is 12. 12 minus 7 is 5. So that's how I can check myself when I know that I'm right. I want to strongly encourage you to show all of your steps. I know that some of you can probably do this in your head, but you need to get in the habit of showing all of your works. The problems are just going to get more complicated, and the more steps that there are, the more difficult it is to keep up with everything in your head. And there's no reason you should have to do it in your head. There's no reason. You need to be writing all of these things down. All right, next example. If you have 10 is equal to 6 minus 2x, again, we have our two sides of the equation. We're going to do reverse order of operations. We're not going to add 6 to both sides. All right, so here I'm not going to add 6 to both sides. You've got to think of this as being a positive 6 right here. If there's not a sign in front of a number, it's positive. So that I'm going to subtract 6 so that I can get rid of this 6 right here. Because remember, the goal is to isolate the variable. So my 6's cancel out, leaving me with 10 minus 6, which is 4 on the left, is equal to negative 2x. You cannot forget about that negative sign in front of the 2. Now to solve for x, I'm going to divide both sides by negative 2, leaving me with negative 2 is equal to x. And then again, you can go plug it in and check yourself. 2 times negative 2 is negative 4. 6 minus negative 4 is 6 plus 4, which is 10. And so that's how you can check yourself to see if you're right. Now with fractions, you're going to follow the same order, same rules. Just because there's fractions doesn't mean it's done any differently. We are going to start off by adding 1/5 to each side. You do need to remember, though, that when you're adding fractions, they need to have the same denominator, a common denominator, and if that's the case, you can add your numerators and keep the denominator. So on the right, we're going to have 4/5, and then on the left, we just have x over 15. So now to solve for x, we want to isolate that variable. I need to get rid of the divided by 15. So I'm going to multiply both sides by 15. These cancel out, leaving me with an x on the left, and then on the right I've got 4/5 times 15, which is equal to 12. 4 times 15 is 60. 60 divided by 5 is 12, so x is equal to 12 on this one. Now there are going to be times when you're going to have a couple of variables, like I was saying, where you're going to have to simplify. So you need to look at what you have. So I've got 6x here, and then I've got the minus 8x. Again, that sign goes with the number. The sign that's in front of the number goes with it. So 6x minus 8x is negative 2x. Then I've got my plus 3 left, is equal to 13. So I'm going to subtract 3 from both sides, leaving me with negative 2x on the left, is equal to 13 minus 3, which is 10 on the right. And I apologize for the handwriting. It looks awful. So now I'm going to divide both sides by negative 2 so that I can isolate the variable. And this leaves me with x is equal to negative 5. And again, you want to check your answer and plug it back in and make sure that it works. Alright, Alright, now, there are going to be times where you're going to have to apply the distributive property. So let's say I gave you a problem, excuse me, like 2 times x plus 3 is equal to 10. What you're going to have to do here is you're going to have to distribute the 2 to everything that's inside the parentheses. Since 2 is being multiplied by what the result is in the parentheses, I can rewrite this by distributing the 2 to everything inside the parentheses. So 2 times x is simply 2x, and 2 times 3 is simply 6. So this is going to be rewritten as 2x plus 3, and I can eliminate the parentheses because I distributed that 2. And then this is equal to 10. So now again, my goal is to isolate the variable, so I'm going to do my reverse order of operations. I'm going to subtract 6 from both sides. This leaves me with 2x on the left, and then 10 minus 6, which is 4. So 2x is equal to 4. I'm going to divide both sides by 2, and x is equal to 2. Alright, now here's the last one we're going to do. This one's challenging because you have to distribute the negative sign. So you don't think about it because you don't see it, but this is like there is a negative 1 right here. And the reason that that's important is because you want to distribute the negative sign to everything that's inside. So I've got to do the negative times the x, and then the negative 1 times the 2. So when I rewrite this, this is 9 is equal to 6 minus x minus 2. Because again, remember that we're doing negative 1 times x is negative x, negative 1 times 2 is negative 2. Now I need to simplify. The 6 minus 2 is 4, so we used the 6, we used the minus 2, and we're left with minus x. So 9 is equal to 4 minus x. Now, again, this is just like this is a plus 4 or a positive 4, so I'm going to subtract 4 from both sides. And when I do that, I'm left with 9 minus 4, which is 5, is equal to negative x. Again, you don't see it, so you don't think about it, but this is like a negative 1 times x. I can't have 5 equals negative x as my answer. It needs to be just x. So I've got to get rid of that negative sign. Well, since this is like negative 1 times x, I'm going to divide this by negative 1, divide the left side by negative 1. That way the negative 1's over here cancel out. Negative 1 divided by negative 1 is positive 1. And over here I have 5 divided by negative 1, which is negative 5. So negative 5 is equal to x. This is your answer. Remember, you don't want to have a negative variable. Your answer can be negative, it's just you don't want to have a negative variable. And so if you wanted to check this one out just to see if it works, negative 5 plus 2 is negative 3. 6 minus negative 3 is 9, because it's like 6 plus 3, which is 9.